As a part of the ethical leadership program and our green certification, we need to do some sort of culminating research project. And I chose to look at calculating Ripon College's carbon footprint. In conversations with a number of people, this seemed like the first step we needed to do. We needed to know a baseline, where Ripon College was at. So basically for this workbook, you need to collect data on the energy use, the transportation, agriculture, solid waste, and demographic data. And it allows you to take into account all the greenhouse gases specified by the Kyoto Protocol, and once you input all the data, it basically spits out a number, and it gives you the results of the metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents. And our energy includes natural gas and electricity, which Ripon College purchases from Alliant Energy. Transportation includes the gasoline that we use in the college fleet of vehicles, any air transportation, air travel that teams do, basketball teams, soccer teams, and also commuter travel to and from campus. And those are probably the two major sources of emission. And in fact, after I calculated the results, I found that 58% of our carbon dioxide emissions come from electricity, while 33% come from natural gas. And following that, the next largest chunk was from transportation, which was 7% of emissions. It was for the 2007-2008 year, the metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents were 9,260. It's difficult to compare that number to other schools since there's not a lot of published data on what different organizations or different schools, how many metric tons they emit. But it's really useful to look at it on a per student basis. So for Ripon, that's 9.34 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents per student in the 07-08 year. So once I found the results of the carbon footprint, I put together a little summary of my results and presented it as a part of my ethical leadership certification. It was also information that I made available to President Joyce, as well as the newly formed sustainability committee that he got going at the end of last year. So that was information that they had accessible when they were trying to get a handle on, where Ripon might go and what things needed to be addressed.
And I think that was a crucial first step, is deciding and looking analytically at what is possible here on Ripon College campus. I think that we set an amazing foundation to build off of.
And I think it was a really neat experience for me as one of the students involved with the task force, being able to represent the student body, the things that, how we interact with the campus on a daily basis, what sort of energy we might be used, what patterns that we see in students, where we as students could make changes in our daily lives. And then bringing staff and faculty members, also allowed us to look at what institutional changes we might be able to make and begin to prioritize those changes that Ripon College could make right away, and those changes that might be further down the road, and sort of set up what might be some goals as to what to address first, some priorities, and then what to address later on.
We've got a lot of plans and details and topics to further explore from in the committee going forward. They've got a lot to look at.
And at the end of the semester, the end of the year, as this group met at least once, maybe more than once a week, looking at all aspects, they had a number of recommendations. And one of the recommendations, interestingly enough, was not to sign on to the sustainability agreement, the National Sustainability Agreement. And the reason is because there were some curricular expectations and requirements. And at Ripon College, our curriculum is the purview of the faculty. Totally faculty run, totally faculty influenced. Consequently, to allow an outside group to have influence on what we teach or how we teach was antithetical to our mission and our philosophy. Not that we disagreed with what the outcomes would be or what the group was trying to create. It just wouldn't work. It would go against our philosophy and our own policies and practices. So I did not sign on to the group, onto the national effort. However, that did not mean that we were trying to avoid anything or not to accelerate the responsibility that we have to become carbon neutral. Consequently, are now forming an advisory group that's not a task force, has a decision to make over a period of time, and they had certain recommendations they made. Now I've created an advisory group, which I will announce in the next few days. I've asked for volunteers and had a plethora of people volunteer to give ongoing advice and guidance and fed out issues of how we can reduce our carbon footprint on an ongoing basis. So interestingly, even though we didn't sign on to the agreement, we're probably going to do as much as the agreement would have required us to do, even more, by our own responsibilities and the actions of our own campus community.
We have a lot of people on campus who've been teaching about those topics, students who've been active in national organizations and local organizations to try to improve on that sort of thing. And so a lot of us were interested in those issues and interested in moving the campus in that direction. But we still had a lot of information to collect, and it really helped to get a lot of people from different parts of the campus together. In the early stages of conferring with members of the faculty, staff, and student body, I was really pleased to hear that the physical plant department was making as many of the improvements as it was and gathering information to make more.